button down first.
Is it on? How come I pressed that, it didn't go on?
It's on.
No, which pressed, the red button?
Yep.
So that's what I pressed.
Don't worry, he'll forget by next month.
It's all right. It's all good.
Okay, the time is 5:30. Call meeting to order. This here, three commissioners, Kathy, the chief, and firefighter Powell. Captain Powell. Sorry about that. And first thing on the agenda is public comment from the district. And I'll take it on me because nobody's here.
Not a taxpayer.
Oh, okay.
Just turn it off there.
So which guy does he win? I would respect both.
Okay, second thing is chief's report.
Okay, starting off, reports including the handout. Again, the audited unassigned fund balance is $562.58. Total lifeguards equipment fund through July is $1,387,721.17. Annual revenue through July is $244,398.35. And we collected $20,113.32 more than this same time last year. We are 58.36% through the budget year and have expended 58.6% of the voted budget. The voted budget for 2020 is approximately 10% less, about $255,313 than the voted budget for 2019. The operating apparatus and fund budget balances in the report. Any questions on that?
You said we collected 20,000 more than last year?
More than this same time last year. Any questions? I'll move on then. Fire prevention report also included in the handout, and for the month of July, we performed 41 fire prevention inspections. Questions on that?
Go ahead, if I didn't know, I'll come back.
All right. The run report for July 2020, that report is also included in the handout. For the month of July, we had 199 incidents. 144 of the incidents were EMS in nature. That equates to 72% of the total incident call volume for the month. The engine responded with the ambulance to 31 EMS on motor vehicle incidents last month. And we are 42 incidents above where we were this same time last year.
What is supposed to be above line 111, the very first one? Yeah, you have a blank and you have you responded to one.
Get there.
Don't do that.
Well, I'm trying to
I know.
figure it out. It just doesn't.
A lot of people try that.
It's supposed to say 100,
Okay.
which is other.
So that's line 100 other.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know why it didn't print.
Okay.
Let me ask you, I do have a question on the calls here.
Yep.
When we go assist somebody, What's that go in? Does that go into the EMS cost?
Most of the time, yes.
Probably depends what it is, right?
Well,
If it was a fire, would it be a building fire, would it go to 111 building?
yep.
So, lift assist, do you have a lift assist account here?
It's not, that's not a choice. It's a call.
It would be a service call, lift assist.
Yes. It's not, doesn't say you got the system.
Okay, so service calls then is which one?
500. Well, service call other.
See, there's one line.
And then below that, we have assist invalid.
Mm-hmm.
Is that right? Invalid?
Assist invalid, yeah.
Yep.
What one is that?
554.
So
554.
you got 6 on there.
Yep.
So I guess my question is, all the time we went to where we were going, we had all the calls there. Evidently, there was more than 6 on there. So they had to go somewhere.
So what depends upon what they find when they get there. They may be called for a lift assist, but if you end up transporting them, it goes to another category. And so, which happens a lot. So you get called for one thing, but when you get there, you find something else that ends up being recorded as what it actually is, not what you're called for.
And it's, I guess my question is, so it's accurate to say you've only had 6 lift assists, the rest are all transport.
Or refusals or something or other. It depends upon what they find. Without being specific.
And I understand,
Yeah.
So they get a call for whatever reason they get called there. They determine what the action needed when they get there. And when they do their report, the action needed is what's recorded in this report, not what they got called there for. Sometimes they're the same, sometimes they're different.
So this is based on the determination after and not the towing.
Correct.
So if someone that we were going to frequently, how was that coming in? Oh,
Can I just elaborate on that for the chief, as someone who enters the report?
It's a chair that has it.
Go ahead.
So, as the chief said, if it comes in, if it's toned as a lift assist, and we get there and it's a lift assist, I will document it as a lift assist. If we get there and we need to provide care or transport the patient, then that's what it's documented as. We've provided care and they've signed off, or we've transported the patient. If it's documented as a lift assist or an invalid assist, that's what we found.
It's just, for me, I know that we have a few places in town where we have a lot of multiple calls to for one matter or another, more so than other areas. And we've heard about this at the meetings, and I'm trying to respect the whole HIPAA and all that stuff and not get too. So if we've had calls there, you're saying that those calls are spread out throughout here. Potentially 6 of them could have been assist 554. A large chunk of them could be in 131, or they could be...
Well, hopefully they don't have passenger vehicles there.
Did I say one? Oh, 131. No, I was thinking 321 for the EMS. I'm sorry. Thank you.
Yeah.
Nope, you're right. Dyslexic looking at it. Yeah, I don't think this accurately is reflecting some of the stuff going on, and have we...
Well, this accurately reflects what we do, not necessarily what we get called for.
Correct, okay, yes. Because the tone's what you get there for could be completely different than a service call going out for a brush fire, and then all of a sudden it becomes, rather than just a fire permit check, it's actually send a truck out and extinguish.
Yes.
And we have worked on the issue, if we're going back to the same place, of requesting resources or trying to figure out a way to encourage people.
When it's appropriate, we refer those individuals to appropriate resources to try to get them the help they need so that they're not calling us all the time.
Has there been a reduction or a response, a positive response to those services assistance?
Well, I would say that most of the time, we'll go to a few specific addresses for a while, and then they go away. And we go to different ones.
I understand. Have they moved out of the district, or are
You
they?
can say that.
Because I kind of know what you're saying. Some people move around to district, and things like that.
Some
or
people move within our district, some people move somewhere else.
I think we're being the lights flickering or is it?
If you-
I think we're beating a dead horse here. I mean, someone calls, they have to go.
They do.
They have to go.
However,
They can't pick and choose,
no, we have a duty to respond, absolutely. However, and colleges do this all the time because they have fire departments at Plymouth State and UNH have a duty to respond every time. So if someone pulls a fire alarm for the fun of it, they have to respond every time. However, they've taken policies where if we go there and it was not a true emergency, they kind of have a little bit of a penalty on the dorm to encourage not that. So people call when it's real and not just for socializing.
We don't have that problem. People will call us in situations that they need our help. And they have no one else to call. That's generally the reason they call.
It's like I saw this morning. I was getting my iced tea at McDonald's and I saw that there was a text on 140. There's something on 140 that they were going to, but they weren't going lights and sirens. They were just going.
Yeah.
But it was still a call. It was
Yes.
smoke investigation. Stuff like that. They for them to figure out. They could have gotten there, found someone passed out in the middle of the floor. You never know.
I don't, personally, I don't think, I'm not going to say that, I shouldn't say that. You got to remember, anybody that's going to fire whatsoever, and they're responsible for all that apparatus. Now, if somebody pulls out in front of them, when they hit somebody, they're still responsible. It's no different with a cat. Just because you're at red light and a siren, doesn't give you the right of way.
I'm not talking about that.
I understand.
It's just, we're just talking about.
I believe he was talking more like a service call. They have a smoke investigation, they send out a pickup truck versus going a big truck down the road to find out it was a small, and it was a permanent fire that, or something like that, or I think that's where you.
It's like we talked about the classic, changing the call last night. There was a water rescue that was called off, but I forgot I left the scanner on the background of the computer, so there was another call that came from Meredith that it was a transformer fire, but when they got there, it was really just an outside fire. So, that's how they told it. I assume I'm not in Meredith.
Okay, I don't have any.
Overlap and simultaneous incidents, that report is also included in the handout. Last month we had 52 simultaneous incidents for the month. That equates to 26% of all incidents for the month of July. Of the 52 simultaneous incidents, we responded to 47. We received 17 mutual aid ambulance responses. We responded with our ambulance on mutual aid 5 times. We received 6 mutual aid engine responses and responded with our engine 3 times on mutual aid.
So the Tilton, no response,
Yeah, you see,
5 times.
yep.
So we have these line mutual aid for those.
a lot of them, even though we respond to somebody, we still may usually rely on mutual aid.
The engine may respond, but no engine, so you have to use it.
Right. That's generally the case. All set with that? Moving on, for apparatus, as you know, engine one has been repaired at a cost exceeding $15,000. I think that's the invoices on the thing that you signed tonight.
On the engine, what did they actually do to it?
They dropped the pump out of the truck, the gear case, rebuilt the entire pump, new gear case, pump casing, new impeller, all the stuff that makes it work. Reassembled it, went to test it, found out that the primer pump motor was also gone, so that was an additional cost. I think about $1,800. Fixed that, then tested the pump, got it to pass the certification test. That's what they did.
And what type of warranty do they warranty the work?
The work is due a year, basically.
So I just want, if you document, so we know if 6 months down the road something else happens, that they're going to fix, they're going to stop.
Well, if 6 months down the road the pump's broken and they take it apart and there's a big hunk of metal that we sucked in from the fire hydrant, they're not going to warranty that.
Well, not the metal, but, you know, it could be anything that goes wrong with it. It's hard to say. All I'm saying is,
So the problem with engine one specifically is that the wrong pump was modified to fit in that truck. And so when that truck's in pumping, it vibrates abnormally and basically shakes itself to death after a period of time. And that's what the problem is. That's why that pump's been rebuilt 3 or 4 times. Among the reasons it's been rebuilt 3 or 4 times.
Anyway, Travis? Is that a direct shaft that you're articulating methods and stuff for? I assume that at least like 2 knuckles differing the plane up there.
But it was originally designed to be a front-mounted pump. And they modified it to make it a midship mount.
You don't need me. You go.
But yeah, I guess where we're going with that is hopefully barring environmental impacts and things like that, we should have a bearing failure or something like that for a year, theoretically. So hopefully we won't be repairing that part of the truck in the next year.
The other thing is part 3 ended up on the left. The lock panels are rotted out, and it's not going to pass inspection, but we have a temporary fix to probably get another year out of it. We have to fill the rocker panels up with foam and then put tape or something over that. But they said, we might get it by this year. But we still have to do it season to
Make sure there's no holes.
And there was additional rocker panels, they couldn't replace the rocker panels.
yeah, decent cost. I haven't priced it out.
Expensive.
Yeah, it's not like a couple of bucks. It's several thousand. And well, the thing is, 11 years old, does have 130 plus thousand miles. It looks good from the outside, but the underside, you know, it's going away.
That's a expedition? Which side, driver's side or passenger?
So, I went to touch it and figured it was really.
And does that come into the actual interior or into the substructure? I'm not familiar with rocket panels strongly.
So it does go up, but you hit the carpeting and stuff like that.
Okay, so the carpeting is the barrier in
Well,
between
it's
the
a
metal
rubber
and
mat.
that. Right.
Yes.
Okay. All right. I thought they were like the exterior fenders type of glass, but so that does in fact exhaust
Yeah, so
potentials.
the main problem with that is sealed.
Okay. And spray foam will seal it appropriately enough for a vapor?
So depends upon who inspects it.
I mean, is it worth it to take it somewhere and get a price, and just get a price? So at least we know it's 5,000, it's 1,000, it's, 10,000. I mean, if you don't know,
Yeah, well, we're going to do that. We'll do that.
I just don't want vapors going up there, and for whatever reason, the worst case scenario, that would not be a good PR for
Not
them.
good. Moving on, COVID-19, we've had no employee unprotected exposures. The access control door, Tnfd has been repaired. That's
The primary door, that takes you upstairs.
yes. As you go upstairs, you know the door that's locked that you need to go the transformer that gives the 12 volts to that thing is only given 6 volts. It wouldn't work. Okay, once the budget's passed, the T-Con shower is going to be installed after the new compressor is installed because the trailer is in the way to do all the work in the shower. So the new compressor is supposed to be shipped either sometime this week or next week. And we can look to get that installed and then we'll get the balance on right after that. Compressor, fire department radio system up on Shed Road. All the signage has been finally installed and that project is complete. The zoning board of adjustment hearing for the proposed cell tower has still been continued. They did a balloon test yesterday to show everybody how they took pictures and all that kind of stuff. And the next hearing on that is at the end of the month, unless they decide to schedule it one sooner. We have one application to the call company currently in process. Fire station committee, no money was appropriated in the budget this year to do any engineering and design work for the fire station. So that's kind of like dead for this year until we get something next year. The grants, the COVID-19 grants, we submitted one in May. We still haven't heard on that yet. And another round for submittal will be opening up in October, and we'll submit that as well. And still working on, we started working on the 2021 budget this past week. Still working on power company improvement. For the capital improvement program, the three items we're considering for next year, an ambulance, an engine, and a new car. Three. And that completes my report. Questions?
So number 13, COVID grant, that's separate from the emergency responder stipend.
Yes, that, we received that, and that's been paid out for that,
Okay.
that program.
So that's a different one, and this one you put in for additional costs,
Materials, you know,
and we're waiting on that.
yes,
So, till now, we paid all that operating budget.
yes.
Do you have a rough
It's
estimate?
under miscellaneous. 9,000 change, 10,000 change?
And it's for things like this, and
Yes.
9,000 plus.
I know the grant was for 9,000 and stuff when I forget. Since then, we purchased more materials, which will include the second one.
That'll be your
And
equivalent.
if we're not successful with the first grant, we'll just add it all together on the second.
Excellent. I'm gonna take that down right now. I just want to make sure I have that. Another question I did have. Can we get this report in advance? Just so we have pretty much your chief's report, just by email to us so we can...
Finish this today.
Oh, that explains it, thank you. Yeah, it's just before we were dealing with the run reports and stuff, it's just that digestive period rather than here trying to digest. So, no, that's understandable. Okay.
So my first day, well, the first happened on the weekend, and I wasn't
Yeah.
working the weekend. Yesterday I started doing all the
Okay.
stuff and finished it today, that's why. Like, if the first was like last Tuesday, you would have had it by Friday.
So just every possibility, obviously. You know, that's very valid on that, to me anyway.
Yep, as soon as I can get it out to you guys, I'll do it.
I think that's all I got from this part of it anyways.
Is anything? Okay, I guess just one thing on the capital improvement program. Next year, you're going to shoot for the ambulance in general or CAD 3?
Well, I'm looking at and see, those are the things that are up for consideration.
I think, in my view, I would probably prioritize which ones you want first, because I don't really know. I mean, that's your asking question, I think.
Yeah, well, I understand that, and that's why we're looking at it. So, you know, pretty much just hit with the corrosion problem with Part 3. We know the issues with Engine 3, and we also know that A2 has issues, but the thing is, A2, the ambulances are what bring us the money. So we have to kind of figure all that stuff out and prioritize and like you said, move out. And
the other thing I emphasize is we look at it throughout the year and not wait till last minute, because that's what shot us, I believe that's what shot us down in the truck. We waited until the end. And don't get me wrong, it was a good idea, I thought it was a great idea. I think if we would have got it sooner, we might have, but I don't know, we probably wouldn't have got it anyhow, but you never know. And if we wait till the last minute and we tell people, you know, these are things we have in front of you, we can see that. It would be better for them to know that. So when we do both of these things, yeah, we need this is our priority, we're here to get a new truck or an ambulance, whatever. This is number one, this is number two, this is number three, and the reasons. Because like I said, I think one time last week, like you did on the firebox, that kind of shot that down. I mean, it was a good idea.
yeah, if we could have brought it up sooner, we would have, but things kind of evolved. You know, as the meeting kept being postponed, things evolved, and we tried to adjust with that, but
I think if it was a regular year, we would be looking at holding a special meeting, not trying to put it into.
But I think if we're going to shoot these next year, we ought to start looking for the numbers now.
I already have We already pretty much know what an engine's gonna cost,
We know that.
and we already know what the ambulance is gonna cost. I haven't placed, I have to look at the state bids on a new, man count.
The question's
I haven't, I'm just, really just starting the budget process right
The
now.
question is going to be which one do you need most, you know? So, because it all comes down to that, trust me. The cat might not be quite so bad, but them two there, and we're talking big amounts of money.
Based on the meeting we had this year, we kind of emphasized how bad our engine situation is. So I think, I would be shocked if the public would be willing to buy both in 1 year. So the fact that last year we spoke about the seriousness of engine 3, I'm willing to bet the public is going to say we should be postponing ambulance for a year, even though that is the money and all that, that's because of the situation we fell into where we weren't able to get 2 engines out. At least if we can get an ambulance out and a small repair, and then be able to, majority of the time, have a 3 ambulance. It's going to be.
Yeah, we're definitely gonna work on the strategy and figure all that. Like I said, we're just starting the process now. We have a ways to go, and it'll be, we'll probably start doing some of the budget stuff for you guys to consider, at budget workshops, probably sometime in November, and start going through that, so we can, get that all squared away to the budget committee, to start with that sometime in November.
When do we hand it off to the budget committee?
You can do it in phases. Last week, you guys are still looking at it, but the stuff that we already cleared, we started giving to the budget committee.
So it's not like an all handout, handout, all other areas do it.
Unfortunately, last year's budget process, never mind moving to the budget program. The budget process.
November, we send out the packet to the budget committee, and they start working on it. It has to be completed in January. Last year, it just went way past the meeting, and we was rambling.
Anything else?
You're not here for conference? Not right now. I will be after this is done.
Oh, I gotta go find you can get together until,
We're firing. Still firing.
While you're here.
he's here for you, let me let that be.
So, you guys requested that I try to get the price difference between the stainless steel body and the body. We got a letter from the vendor which I basically the number engineer the truck over the stainless steel.
The other part of that, what we were looking at with the cost center, is kind of a breakdown because what we have is a final product number. And I went back into the emails again, and that's why I was trying to, you had sent me before saying page 68. So I was hoping to see CAD part construction, tank construction, even though it's a poly tank or whatever tank you go with, that's connected. And pump. The engine we went through, the engine is going to be $67,000 just for that particular engine. That was kind of a cost center breakdown rather than, oh, 677, well, that's better than 713, so yeah, we'll go with that one. That's what I was kind of hoping for a cost center. It's just more of a breakdown of that, and I understand they're not going to want to give the compatibles to the aluminum to standards, and I respect that part. However, we're paying for a number without kind of getting a breakdown of it.
Yeah.
And that's the problem, is that's not building the public's trust.
Well, I believe they broke out the options that we have on the truck, and that's on that spreadsheet that the clients have run. And that's what they're basically willing to do with that. Also, given that, the public already voted the $703,000 for the engineers. So they must have trusted us enough to consider that we worked hard enough to get to that number. Considering when we started out at 811 with only one bidder saying that they would put the truck in the station. And we ended up with 3. And the vote for already taken, we should be signing the contract to get that truck to as soon as possible. Even though it's still going to take 11 to 13 months.
Absolutely, and that's the urgency, I respect that. I guess the question, and I believe both of you were on the truck committee? Oh, you weren't?
No, Travis just left on the call.
Oh, okay. When you guys, and I'm not sure, director, interim director, you're the chairman, you tell me, so. When you did the specifications, did they look at, obviously you looked at structural for the stainless versus and the answer we got the other meeting was less penetrations or the more penetrations, so less corrosion around it, oxidation. Perfect answer, it made good sense. Cost, we never got to see a cost. Did you guys get to see a breakdown cost of, by component, a larger component group? I'm not saying for this light it was this amount, but
Right.
for the...
So this is at least my 5th committee that I've been on. I have never had a dealer provide us with a price list. If we asked for a price difference in options, that number was provided, but I've never seen a options list with prices.
So they don't give you, and I don't know, they don't give you a rough approximate bid for the pump design, choice and installation?
No, because when we spec'd this truck, we knew what we needed and we knew what we were looking for, so price was obviously a concern, but given the constraints of Center Street, we've been voted down multiple times for a new building. The constraints of a 3-man crew, we've now been voted down multiple times for additional personnel. we spec'd a truck that was going to fit in that station and provide us the best bang for our buck and to make us as efficient as possible the way we operate. Those were the two main concerns. So looking at the three options that were given to us, we actually were able to go with the most cost efficient, and there was as apples to apples as they could give us. The same size cab, the same size pump, the same roughly length body. The Sutphen was really the prime choice for what we were looking for. It maximized compartmentation, the height of the truck was down, the length of the truck was down. We got the 500 horse motor. I know that there's been members of the public who don't think that's big enough. I asked the dealer specifically if there was a larger motor and what it would take to put that in the engine, and he laughed at me. The next size engine is meant for industrial towers, 100, 105, 110 foot trucks with pumps. It's not meant for an engine. The X15 is just too big. So the X12 500 horse is what Franklin runs in. They have an older generation, but that's what Franklin runs in all their trucks. I personally test drove a Sutphen a week and a half before the district meeting with the L9. Truck was the same length, inch and a half taller than what our spec shows. 1,000 gallons of water. It climbed Cross Mill, Zion Hill, no problem. From a dead stop, the truck was doing 35 at 1,200 RPMs. So, and we're going with the bigger motor and the heavier duty transmission.
And I appreciate what you guys did. I mean, I know you guys did. It's unfortunate as a commission that we didn't see minutes and stuff like that because it wasn't asked at the time. I respect that. We talked about that after in future committees and stuff. We hope that we will have oncoming information and kind of spelling that out of which way, to a degree.
So having been on multiple committees, unless you're going to provide somebody to take notes like Kathy or to try to videotape it, it's going to be near impossible. We don't make motions and put something on the floor and then vote on it. Like, we had one meeting, we drove up on the marker board and said, okay, what do we need, where can we put it, and how can we organize this truck? And that was a 2.5-hour meeting of drawing stuff on a board, and we can't take notes on that.
Recordings, because the fire station committee, we had to do the same thing. And every meeting was recorded, and the few that weren't, I wrote it out to keep me on track. So there are options available for that. It's just to put a signature to this, and I don't want you to think don't think you did your due diligence. I believe you did. But to say we're going to sign this $700,000 without having any kind of a numbers breakdown or something in front of there, it just, yes, the public approved it because they had no choice but to approve it because we have two engines that are end of life and they knew that they had to meet in the middle somewhere. That's not building their confidence strongly, and that's what we're trying to do. I know I'm trying to build the confidence. We're trying to do everything we can for this district. And I'm very uncomfortable signing something without justification to say sign it rather than, well, that's what the committee submitted before me. That's where I had that.
So, to put an analogy on it, when you go to buy a car, and you want the sticker, the window sticker, how a car is priced, you may not pay that price. There's the base car, they have the base price. This car costs $30,000, and then underneath it is the options. They gave us the options. And this is the base price, and these are the options. So if you subtract those options from that truck, you kind of get the base price of the truck, I guess.
However, we are not buying a car made in a factory that is tens to hundred thousands of the same model. We are buying a custom built, custom engineered every time, unless we use the same specs next time around, and then we're still going to pay a percentage above. So that's where there should be asked, learn in the future, hey, can you give us what we're looking at that's a rough for the cab area, or the breakdown based on what we're trying to do. The pump, what are we looking for a cost of the pump and the pump installation? I'm not saying down to the bolt, but there should be a approximate grouping of the hydraulic system of $60,000 for the pump alone, installation, adapting a front line into a midship, like with engine 1. And please don't, I agree. But, so that is an adaptation cost of about $18,000 potentially, if working with the group as a learned lesson in the future of trying to have that, because that's what the public wants to hear and see, rather than just say, yeah, no, that looks good.
So, with all due respect, the committee itself, the members who make it up, and this is without the chief and the deputy, there's 35 to 40 years of combined experience. I mean, I don't know what else you could ask for. My fear and my concern is when you start bulleting out that list like that, we're going to cut a corner here, we're going to cut a corner there, we're going to cut this corner over here. Well, now this isn't compatible with that because it's like the fire code. When you start taking it piecemeal, it doesn't work together. And now all of a sudden you have engine 1, 20 years new.
But the public is wanting to see dollars rather than just showing their dollars. We're answering to the public, and that's the thing. Is the public doesn't want to just see a base number. We've had questions about that. To try to enter it, and I respect that they don't want to give up proprietary of stainless versus. So that was a valid answer the company came back with, and I can accept that. No, that was checked. The answer we received last month, because of the number of penetrations, and we were trying to minimize the oxidation on that, that was a great answer for stainless that made me comfortable in supporting that, even though I can't see the numbers for it. But the public wants to see how much we're paying because they question us on what we spend every penny on.
I've been specifying apparatus for 35 years. I've never had the public come and ask me, how much did the pump assembly cost on this truck? Never, ever, ever.
I'm asking you for the cost breakdown, and I'm not looking for the bullets, but you should have a better understanding of this cost of this truck besides $703,000. What makes up that $703,000, or is it just based on what they want to throw in there? Because if you're working with a manufacturer and they know that you're not going to be asking these cost centers, no problem. I'll throw this in and charge a government rate on something that way overcharged.
So, in the end, they all go out to bid. We saw that there were common
The
specifications.
specifications.
And all the manufacturers that just wanted to place a bid on the thing did so under the same constraints. So the bid process is fair, and as you can see, if something came in low, E1's a little higher, and the C grade was like $50,000, $50,000 higher. To get that number out of them, I don't know. We'll try. I wouldn't promise that I'll ask them next time. But the other thing is, I think if we're buying a pump next year, we're going to be using the same spec, just to save on because we did say if we use the same spec and they're close enough together, they don't have to re-engineer it because of available parts. There will be some savings in engineering costs. So I don't see us really even having another committee in by the time we order another truck if we're successful.
If it's soon enough.
So what you're looking for, so you're saying you want an options list, waterous versus hail, 1500 versus 1750 versus 2000, 450 horse versus 500 horse.
No, I trust what you're saying on what you're going with.
Yep.
I would love to see some dollars behind this when the public is looking at it saying, well, you're spending $617,000, $703,000, and well, how'd you come to that number? That's what something to answer to the public if they ask that question is how we came to that number.
I remember years ago, we used to buy the chassis. It was X amount of dollars. Then after that, it was X amount for the pump, and so on and so forth. That's what we did.
Yep.
If you buy a commercial chassis, you might be able to do that, but we're buying a custom chassis, which is engineered from scratch, specifically affects fitness and sensors.
And there's additional costs, absolutely, to get the final product for how you had to We know that there's additional adaptation costs, absolutely. But what were those adaptations? Because I've asked you multiple times to make it fit, oh, about 5,000. How'd you come up with 5,000? Roughly, and that was a ballpark number of what you said before. So,
Just because you hit a spot right there, where, you know, they may have had a price at something, and I'm just going to say it was $1,000, okay, for the whole engine. It was $1,000 for the engine, and then the committee makes a few tweaks, okay, and then now that engine is $1,500. So you can say that whatever we did it cost about $500. Okay, you're going to get specific. I think you're going to get down to too much micromanaging. I had what the chief said right in my mind about was that the forestry unit that went out before. So when you buy that, you buy a chassis. Okay, when you look at the window sticker on that chassis, it's going to tell you it's $30,000. If you want to go with a dump body, you're going to go to probably an outside place, and they're going to tell you that dump body is, you know, $15,000. If you want to make it a fire truck, it's going to cost this amount. You're going to take it to that specialist, or you're probably going to buy it from that specialist, but they're not going to give you that. Where I work, we sell chassis all the time, you know, but we don't see the finished product. We just see the chassis go out the door, and then all of a sudden it comes back a month later, and it's a porta potty pump truck, you know. But that's what they do it for, and that's what they cost. But there was a cost to that. But when you buy a car, you get the basic car, and there's a few options. You can have option A that are, you know, $5,000. Option B is, you know, $6,000. And well, what's really the difference? Well, maybe the soundproofing is a quarter-inch sticker. You know, that's how they do it. They're not going to give you the pump engine or the engine. When you look at the engine, they don't tell you how much the engine is. They don't tell you how much the tires are until you have to go repair it. Because then you find out how much that transmission, you know. I've learned a lot in these last few months. You know, like I had a lady yesterday, she wanted to buy tires. Her husband wanted new tires. So I looked at 3 tires for her, and 2 of them were the exact same tire. The only difference is one had white lettering and one had black lettering. You know what the difference was? $5 a tire. Because they had paint for the white paint to go on the tire. But that's, I mean, you're going, until you get to have to repair things, you don't really find out the true cost of anything. Because they don't want you to know that.
Right, and you lease cabs. I mean, do we have access to the pumps, or do we have to lift the whole cab up? And then the nightmare of trying to get down into that hydraulic and washout and stuff. I mean,
that's something that your committee should, because they're the ones using it. None of us, with the exception of the chief, none of us at this table are going to be using this ladder truck. Okay, but I don't know if you're still following that. You know, these 3 over here are going to use that. So really, I value what they think is going to help them run the most efficiently. And then they present that, I'm assuming, to the chief, and you know, the guy from Dingy comes to you and says, all right, well, that's going to cost you $650,000. And they go, well, what if we just move this? And then they come back and say, that's $660,000. They go, oh, we'll go back to $650,000.
So when we have the appropriate dealers in, and we meet with all of them, we go over what we want, stuff like that. They never give us a price. They have to go back. And they
take the notes back.
They take the notes back. They send it to the engineers and the budget people. And 2 weeks later, they say, yeah, it's probably going to cost this ballpark area. You know, depending upon what you do here and what you do there and stuff like that. But if you add this, it's going to change this, but then you have to change that.
There were a lot of things that we asked for to try to fit into this truck and to get it to fit into that station. They had the sales guys scratching their heads and going, we're going to have to check with engineering. I don't know if we can do that. And there was stuff that we wanted to do that we just could not do.
And we saw some of them that were removed just because you're trying to fit into a 9x9 box and still keep everything. And if you had that extra 3 feet by 3 feet, you probably could have done it for cheaper for the equivalent.
I could have built you a hell of a truck to fit in this building.
It's the public, and I believe you guys work your tails off. The public is wanting to see the dollars for it. That's why we look so bad at the meeting. It's like, what are you getting for it? That was just one of the main pieces that didn't help, and they're looking at the commissioners to figure out the dollars of everything when they do it, and that's what they kind of want us to, oh, you're just gonna sign that?
Well, I mean, we can, in the future, present the truck or present the drawing, but I don't think that there's a vendor out there who's gonna give you a line-by-line cost sheet.
I was just hoping for like major groupings, like I said,
Like, what does a pump cost?
well, the water in that, for 677,000 or whatever, there should be some kind of an equation broke down with them for the chassis assembly, the stainless body assembly. They may not be down to their price per car, but they could probably say it's probably about 250,000 for that stainless body assembly.
Right, but that's all proprietary, and every one of these custom trucks that they spec, they're going to bid on. So they're constantly trying to beat out the other.
Absolutely.
So you can ask, we'll ask. I mean, we'll ask whatever you want us to ask. Worst they can say is no.
Right.
The other thing I think is, when you present, and, we didn't get through with it, and they voted it. I think it would have been a good idea for somebody, to have a picture of the truck and maybe go through and explain this is what we did. We feel as though we need this works for us, this is one of the best things, cost savings, give presentation, I guess, more than anything. So people know what they actually get. I mean, I think you ask anybody in that thing, there was probably about 5 people that only know.
And that's fine. I would have been willing to do that. I'd be willing to do it in the future. I mean, I don't know if I'm going to be on the next committee, let alone chair it.
You're not going anywhere.
Huh?
You're not going anywhere.
No, I'm not going anywhere. I got a 10-month-old daughter. But, maybe the guys love the truck I spec. Maybe there's just a couple things they don't like and somebody else wants to turn on. I don't know. My experience with the district meeting, though, is sometimes that goes over and sometimes the body says, sit down and be quiet because we don't want to waste our time. We're here to vote. I've seen presentations go both ways.
I mean, the picture of a short presentation, anything, when you get up to, $80,000 or $100,000, we're talking about more than.
I think part of that was possible because of the
I know, but
technical
it was not possible because it was tight.
The sound, the
But
reverberations, everything was against
I
it.
think next year if we're going to do something, whatever we do, whether it's a fire truck, an ambulance, it should be presented by the board, somebody on the board, to get up and, it don't have to be a long, drawn-out thing, explaining every little detail, maybe a picture, maybe a few words, why we get this engine, why we need it, and why it works for us. I mean, just simple things like that, so people understand what they're spending their money on. I mean, when you're talking $3 $4 million, that's a lot of money.
I don't disagree.
So that presentation is only at the discretion of the moderator.
Correct. Yes, he has to approve
So the
it.
moderator would say, you know what, 10:30 night, and
But I
people out.
believe he'd like to have.
Oh, I'm sure he would, but
So like I said, I can only speak for myself. If it's me next time, if that's what you want, I'm more than happy to do that.
Any other questions? We'll repeat this again.
Yeah.
It's done, I know what that's.
need some more. We got the right people to help.
I have no.
Just stickers, man. You might miss that.
It's very much the motion that we're looking for, which is what was drafted. So a motion to authorize Chief Sitar to enter into and sign a contract with Sutphen and Dingy Machine Company to purchase a new Sutphen engine for the Tilton Northfield Fire. Is it Fire District or Fire EMS District?
Fire district is the official name, fire and EMS is the DBA.
Okay. With a sum not to exceed $703,677.
Second.
Okay, so we move to second. Any other questions? I mean, I do have a question. Buying this truck, we are going to, there's going to be no changes. We do not have to make changes, but we add things to it. It costs us money, because it's not going to happen. And the other thing is to make sure we get everything we need on. So
Captain Valvani put several hours into compiling a list of equipment from engine 1 that is suitable and usable to move to the new truck, as well as a list of equipment that we are going to need to, in addition to outfit this truck. I put together a list of rescue equipment that has not before been on a first due engine that we'll be moving to this engine to increase our rescue capabilities. That is included in the price, and I do believe that additional EMS equipment to make this truck compatible to engine 3's EMS capabilities will also be on this truck, and that was all included. If there are changes made to this truck at all, it was something that we were aware of going into it, and we asked them to spec the most expensive option. So if a change was made, the price should come down. There's a question as to what style of mirrors we want to put on the truck, as there was with the ladder, but until we have all of those options in front of us at pre-con, we didn't want to make that decision. So when we sit in the truck at pre-con, and we can look at the different style of mirrors, the most expensive mirror there is what's in this spec. And then a decision will be made there. And anything else that may or may not be changed would be the location of a grab handle or a hook or a Chicago bar inside the cab.
Okay, so you're saying you got the most expensive things, the add-ons, just
So-
in case, just in case.
Yep,
And so it,
we budgeted high.
okay, so the chance of that is going to be ridiculous.
That is the hope.
I don't think so. So I guess I'm going to leave it up to you guys. If you spec out this mirror and they change it to a less expensive one because we do not need that, you will make it aware to them that we get the reduction.
Usually they issue that in a form of credit, but sometimes they issue a check. Depends upon, like say, we have this piece of tool that we want to mount to the truck, and because we bought mirrors that were $88 less, will you mount it for us for free instead of charging us for that mounting thing? Usually you end up with some type of bargain deal, but sometimes you end up getting a check.
Okay, so the motion we made for your question.
I do have a question, just based on what you said, with
Yep.
adding certain cross-leveling, great, as long as you don't put something that's gonna blow a gasket as soon as the first time you bump with it.
Right.
Yeah, I know you guys wouldn't do that because you're the ones using it, but you talked about adding some EMS stuff. At the meeting, we talked about there was a buildup of $28,450 in addition to the engine cost.
That is the total equipment.
So that's everything that you were thinking added, or things you were thinking that the fire
That is-
EMS is in addition to the 28?
No, that 28,000.
Covers that.
Yep.
Okay. That's what I want to make sure, because that's what we told the public. I just want to make
Yep.
sure that fit in there and not.
Yep.
Okay. That's all.
Anything else?
Okay.
Okay, it's been moved second. Take a roll. All those in favor? Aye.
All right.
Is there something we have to sign anything or?
We just authorized the chief to sign on our behalf. As a closeout on that, I think it's up to the commissioners. If there's any correspondence changes or anything like that, because we've authorized the chief, and I respect that, I would like to know about those changes in case the public hears about it and asks us that you please notify the commissioners just to answer on that.
I will always keep you notified on
Any changes and stuff,
Changes
because
on that.
they find it,
No,
they find it before we find out.
I would only want to know about changes $10,000 and above, because if they're going to use an ABC mirror versus an XYZ mirror, I really don't care. But if they're going to put armor plating on it and it's
No.
about $10,000, I want to know about
Right.
it.
Yeah, it's
I'm just saying.
just adjustments, significant adjustments or anything like that.
Or it's going to be a three-wheeler.
Anything that could negatively impact the public's perception that we'll be answering before we know about it.
No, I'm not doing that.
Appreciate that.
If anything, when I notify you, it's because I got it cheaper.
I like that.
Looking for more.
I like that.
Okay, let's move on.
I'd like to thank Captain Powell for all his
Yes.
hard work on the
Thank you,
bid.
Joe.
Yes. I'm sure it was a fun time at all
I'd like
times.
to make sure the next.
Well, the question is whether or not my coworkers want me to chair that.
We'll probably do it soon.
Okay, let's move on. New business.
It's gotta be on screen. Put these down.
The Polaris CTV.
Yep. So I sent that information out to you as well, describing what happened and where we are with the Climax with that. And my recommendation is that we take Climax's payment, buy it back, and get it fixed. And you guys decide exactly how we're going to go with that. Right now, it's currently total by Climax.
So if we were to get it fixed there, what's to say that if something ever happened, they would come back on us and say, hey, we were not the specs or...
So it's basically, you have to unbolt the growth gauge and bolt them in on, basically, is what it is.
Then it goes back up to...
It's still a total vehicle because the damage, they're not going to insure it for damage anymore. It will still be insured for liability. So if we hurt somebody with it or anything like that, we're still insured. But if we repair this, if we buy it back and we repair it, and we smash it into a tree and it's damaged again, they're not going to give us a penny. We'll have to.
It's out of our pocket, anything that's done.
There's Captain Powell riding along with the passenger seat and he falls out.
He's covered. He's covered. We're covered. The district's covered and he's covered.
Well, on that safety thing, let me ask you a question. I remember when we got this, I was on the one time. It strikes me funny that it rolled over that easy. I mean, I took the course, and I mean, we went up and down banks and everything, it never rolled over. The other thing I wanted to ask is, anybody that drives it, have they taken a safety course driving? Because that was one of the requirements.
So we have our own training course here for that. We don't have like an outside instructor. But since that accident happened, we are looking to bring in an outside instructor that specializes in that so that we can make sure that something like that doesn't happen.
Well, I remember when I was on, they had a certified instructor.
Yep, and when I was in Tewksbury, I had a certified instructor.
We went outside of banks and everything, down a package pit and everything, and he taught you the right way to do it.
Yeah.
And like I said, it strikes me funny that he just rolled it over, like how you explained he did is very unusual.
Can I speak to that, Paul? Because I took that class with you when they offered it. What the biggest difference between then and when this occurred is the skid tank that carries 70 pounds of water and it's above the balance point of the vehicle. The tank was in the truck and it was full when that occurred.
It was constantly.
Okay.
That was one of the contributing factors.
Yeah, it changed the center of gravity from here to here. So, yeah, I know when I took that course, they taught you to go through stuff that you never thought you could get through just by maneuvering certain ways and all that stuff. But, yeah, so we're looking into doing that again, bringing a new instructor in that's certified so that we can redo the whole course all over again. And that will, hopefully we'll be able to do that next year's budget.
So I do have a couple questions. Okay, so the contributing factor, did we do an in-house investigation or did Primex do an investigation on the process? How it happened, kind of like, I know in the military, any kind of thing happens, you look into, so the high tank is absolutely high center of gravity, respect that, whether they were trained, so it's all documented. Like you said, they were in-house trained versus outside trained, which is just all contributing factors, including like the slope it was on, things like that. Did we do a formal, or did Primex do a formal documenting the case?
So Primex only documented the damage,
So it's like cementing
But
insurance.
the causation is what the internal.
Okay, so we did do that. Just where we're going and we're taking this kind of onto us in the future, I would hope that you probably have a requirement for record maintenance of 10, 15 years and all that stuff, so that would be part of that situation, just because of that.
So
So,
we have a committee that's required by law
Yep.
to meet for when we have incidents. And the committee makes recommendations to correct things that went wrong so they can improve.
Safety committee, right?
Yes.
and those results, like I said, you maintain and all that.
We have to, yes.
Yep. And that's what I figured. What was the safety committee's recommendations? Is that where they said an outside trainer or?
No, that was between Deputy Judah and myself.
Okay,
They have not met.
They haven't yet.
This particular
COVID-19.
okay.
Everything is behind.
So is it out of line to ask for a report when the safety committee's done of what you're doing for the operational get well, better thing? Like you said, an outside, you're already talking all the key points that would come of that, just.
Yeah, so when the safety committee meets on this, I'll give you the report on what this is. It's not-
Yeah, okay.
it's public information.
Yep, I know, but it's just that way the question. And then the only other one is a financial question. Okay, so I remember the email, which I responded to you today, so you had a digital, this evening. So you have a digital reply. No. So you said $400 difference that we would have to pay out of pocket to put that on there. Where is that coming from? Just because we're already going short into a budget this year with all the maintenance and stuff, where do you plan on pulling the
That would
400
come
from?
from the insurance deductible. We have $1,000 deductible
Okay,
per vehicle. So it would come out of that.
so it's not coming from any of our internal budgets at all? Is that
Well,
correct?
that's part of our budget.
We're going to get $1,600
Right.
in the parts, cost about $2,000. So there is a $400 net difference. I have to find it somewhere in the budget. I haven't determined exactly
Okay,
what
that's kind of where I was trying to figure out, because I just know that this year's budget is going to be so stinking tight that if you, what pot am I going?
It'll be off the deductible that is charged off, but it will come out of some other line.
Right, that's what we want to know is where that makeup difference for when you figure it out, is what we're asking. And what I'm asking, whether you two agree or not. It is a bottom line, but we are trying to see the pots of monies where we're at, and we're trying to stay within those pots of monies, and we understand some things are going to have to shift because of the maintenance is, way behind the curve on this one, so.
This right here, property equipment insurance deductible $1,000. So you're gonna put it there, and that's gonna show over or under.
Right, so you said $1,000.
Right, that's what
Well, you'll see that it's over budget, but where it's going to come from. That's
When do you
my
do,
job.
can you please let us know? That's all I was asking, just with the budget side of things.
All right, so in the end, you guys agree with buying the vehicle back and fixing it?
we're gonna do.
Make a motion to that.
Make a motion that we buy back the forestry unit, ATV for
Those are mine.
$1,000.
$1,000.
Yeah, I know. I got it.
Okay, can I move second? And looking on that, they make it the move second, all those in favor?
Yes, no,
Stephen?
A phone call from FEMA a few weeks ago, I don't remember exactly, and asking me questions on something that I applied for. That gives me the inclination that they're probably going to reward us for doing it. but I won't know until October. And what the grant covers is the cost of a firefighter's salary for the first year, including all the benefits and everything else. What it doesn't pay for is like the turnout gear and uniforms and physical. So the district would have to come up with that. Some of that's probably already in the budget. The turnout gear is in the budget. The physicals are in the budget. Uniforms, I'd have to look at that, where that is.
You know, you said a year. I thought you said one time it would take 24 years.
So the caveat to the program is, yes, they'll pay that cost for that firefighter for 3 straight years. 4 firefighters.
You have it blocked off.
For whatever you apply for, but they'll cover them for up to 3 years, and I believe the contingency on this one is that 3 years plus 1 day, you are not obligated to hire like the last time around.
Yeah, there is no requirement that you maintain these firefighters after the grant. The hope is that you will, but there's no requirement to do that.
Now, let me hit you applied for 4. What if
Yes.
you would only take 2?
I don't know what they're actually going to approve yet.
Well, if they did approve 4, and we said, no, we don't want 4, we only want 2.
It seems silly not to take 4 at that point for practically no money at all for the services that you will be able to provide with the additional personnel. But that's something that we can discuss when we find out really what we get. I know John asked for the packet, so I have a packet for each of you. And what that includes is the notice of funding opportunity, the application, and in there somewhere is also the amendments that were made due to the COVID thing, which it's just a couple pages.
61 pages and all that.
61.
More than that.
Oh, and then another 49.
So total of 110.
That's not bad.
What's the report card?
I do have a comment or two on this issue, but, all right. So the safer grant, and I understand that right now it's all infancy phases. Last meeting, we said on record that we are not going to hire anyone because we don't have the money. That came out of you to someone from the public directly on recording.
That's right.
So, did you know you were going to put in for this at the time when you made that statement to him that we were not going to hire anyone?
I applied for it previously to the district meeting because there was a deadline that I had to meet, or I wouldn't be able to apply for it.
So-
But there's no way of knowing whether we're going to get it. And if we do, and if we are awarded it, we don't have to hire them right away. We have a time frame where if we go through the hiring process, they wouldn't start until after January anyway, so it'd be in the next fiscal year.
So you replied, per the minutes that we might approve, to Kevin when he asked if they would be hiring any additional personnel in 2020. You replied they would not, as you did not have the budget to do so.
That's right.
So when you said that to him, you still had an intent to hire someone.
Still have that.
Did you still have an intent to possibly hire someone based with grant funding?
I don't think we could hire them this year, this calendar year. This
Okay,
calendar
so not this year.
because
Thank you.
It would be in January at the earliest because we won't know until October,
Okay.
maybe a little later.
So not this year.
Then you guys
That's
have to
fair.
decide whether we're going to accept the grant or a portion of the grant or whatever it says.
Mhm.
Then if we do decide we're going to hire folks, we have to go through a process, which takes 6 to 8 weeks of a process to get there. Now we're into January. So if we do hire somebody as a result of this grant, it's not going to be in 2020, it will be in 2021.
Okay, well, hopefully the grant allows us to wait till 2021 because based on what you said in public, we are not hiring this year.
You see that you get 6 months from the time you are awarded a grant.
I'm trying to rebuild good faith with the public. They asked a very direct question, and we gave You gave a very direct answer. We would not be hiring this year. So we will not be hiring in this budget year because of what you stated, if we approve the minutes.
That's correct.
Okay, next one. So there is going to be additional costs of turnout gear and physicals.
Yes.
Okay, now when Kevin Waldron asked for the cost of the firefighters, uniforms, insurance, and all that to build his numbers that he gave, did you have additional money in the budget that you didn't give him? Such as turnout gear and physicals? Did he have...
I believe I gave him
He had the cost of turnout gear and physicals in his numbers that he adjusted by.
I don't believe the turnout gear was included in his numbers.
How much does
Because
turnout
that
gear go for a firefighter?
The turnout gear was in the apparatus and equipment fund.
How much does turnout gear go for a firefighter, roughly? Just a
2,200
$2,200? That's it?
for
one guy.
for one guy.
Okay. I thought turnout gear was astronomically higher, so that's...
About
What
2,200.
if the number 5,000?
Yeah, that's what I,
So let me,
Because we were gonna hire 2 guys.
So that was, it wasn't per person.
That would be
was-
my guess. I'm not
No,
supposed to talk.
Okay, well, that's why I'm just checking if that was a per person cost. If it was a 5 for 2, that,
so, with all the stuff that we buy a firefighter, buy for a firefighter when we hire them,
yeah.
about $1,200 is for
Yeah,
work
street
uniforms,
uniform, duty
and
uniform.
$3,780 for turnout gear and all the other stuff that we buy on all the apparatus and equipment
Per person.
per person.
So
So it's about 5,000.
So about 5,000 per person instead of the 2,200.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Kevin had, because I spoke with him after that, because he addressed this matter, and he asked for the list. I asked for the same list, and I didn't have a chance to see it before the meeting, which unfortunately you had the list. I never got it to be able to speak to it when the public was coming at us, which, I mean, I spoke in support of the firefighters as best I could, but I did not have the numbers that I needed to see what Kevin was counting with. And then we discussed it afterwards, and he was surprised that the turnout was still in there. He thought he had the full amount.
It was 2 different budgets. And I believe when he asked me the question, it was from the operating budget. So I gave him every penny from the operating budget. And that's what he took out, every penny from the operating budget.
From the operating budget, because he didn't know that you had turnout coming from a different budget.
Well, if he's on the budget committee, he should.
That's not the transparency for the public. I could say that he should know everything, just like I should know everything. I don't know everything about it. I don't know the difference of stainless cost versus that because I've asked it and we don't have it.
But we debated that at the budget committee meeting, where stuff comes from and where it goes in the 2 separate budgets. And he posed that question to me, and well, how much out of the operating budget? He sent me an email or called me up and asked me that number, and I replied to him. So if we asked for the money out of the apparatus and equipment fund and the money out of the operating, I would have answered it now. When people ask me a question, I answer it. I don't know reason to hide it.
I guess.
And maybe there's a misunderstanding there, maybe there's a lack, maybe I misunderstood what he asked, maybe he misunderstood what I provided him, but I don't believe so. I was very specific in what I provided.
Okay. What about when I requested it before the meeting?
What was your question?
I can pull the email up that I sent you and asking for what the cost for a firefighter to be hired off the street in for uniform, training, physicals, all that, so that we could speak to it at the meeting
When did you send it?
of the week prior.
Did I answer you?
No. You had the copy yourself at the meeting, which unfortunately,
Why didn't I
It
answer?
wasn't by accident.
I don't know, Chief. You had the numbers, and unfortunately not having that, and everything that we were fighting in the meeting, of the presentation, the audio, the sound, the mask, not having that didn't allow the commissioners to be able to speak to his reduction because we didn't have that number
So
available.
I don't know, I don't remember that email that you
Okay.
specifically emailed to me. I'll go back and look and see what happened with that, if it's there. I don't delete any emails. All the emails I get are emails. Found out why I did not reply to that. I think I received it.
Because I definitely feel that daytime, we need more manpower. I agree with the way the line of thought Paul was going with the 2 people, because then that would allow for the daytime support of when you don't have it. The 2 people allows you to have even that Saturday, Sunday coverage rather than just one person, Monday through Friday. So that would at least give you daytime across the board, how you 10, 12-hour days to give that daytime when your call force is not available. Just because we can go for more, the public is looking at everything we're doing, and we are in a deficit budget for maintenance, and so everything we should be looking at every dollar. So if you had additional turnout physicals and stuff, and you're not going to use it, as a budget member or as a commissioner, I would expect that to go back to the general account and not just be reshuffled because of bottom dollar.
So the apparatus and equipment fund. I
Or
can't-
stay there.
It will stay there. I can't spend it
Right.
on operating expenses.
Right.
So
You have the different
everything,
lineage.
everything that was budgeted in the operating account for a firefighter, a new firefighter, was taken out of the budget through Kevin's amendment.
I'm sure we'll have a lot more discussions on this. I support getting the people in. I do not support 4 people, I'll say that up front, because housing, we don't have housing for them. You have 3 bunk beds upstairs, or 3 single beds upstairs, I believe. So if we get another person overnight, we need to buy a bunk bed system, which means that's more money we gotta come out of when they're already deficit. I'm literally going to be staring at the dollars of this the entire season. Is that rain, wind, or fog?
It's when
Looking at this because we're trying to make up that maintenance cost. So the maintenance deficiency is what we're trying to get the dollars back to get that equaled
I
out.
understand what you're saying, but then again, remember that if we do hire additional people, they will do in the next fiscal year, not in this fiscal year.
You know, the other thing about finance, and I want to be very careful going through this here, because we have some things in here that maybe not in here. Like, are they willing to pay for payment plan? They willing to pay for that?
So-
Do we have to pick that up?
The way you work, the way the grant asks you to do the insurance thing, you have to take the average of what the entire, so you take all the insurance plans that we offer, you have to average it by the number of people within the department, and that's the number they give you for insurance.
So it may not even cover it.
So they're probably giving us more than that, because most new hires are young single men that don't, single plans, where they give us something that's closer to a dual person plan.
Is it a family plan? Do we have to pick up the family plan? The other thing, I know we give stipends to those who don't take it. Is that included?
Yes, that's included.
I mean, there are things, 2 things right there I can think of. And there's probably a lot more that if this happens and we get it, I want to make sure it does not cost
So
us.
make sure you read that whole thing so that you can have the appropriate question. And you'll probably get the answers if you read everything.
Page 20 and 49 highlights the insurance section. So it's Medicare, retirement, health insurance,
It just looks like payment.
which is probably cost average, single, double, department costs average of the single at $9,919. Double at $19,000 and family at $26,000, 13 plans offered. Long-term disability, the department cost of $113.70. I'm just per person. Short-term disability, department cost of $158. Life insurance, at department cost of $153. New Hampshire Fireman's Insurance, department cost of $20.
Just one night.
So it has an annual salary of $23,970.28. The benefits of $33,153.90 for a total cost per firefighter of $77,144.80.
Salaries with benefits.
For a firefighter,
1 to 4, whatever.
The whole thing is,
The rate's going.
there's people I know, I'm gonna find out all the numbers, how they work that out.
He applied for 4, but he,
We don't know what we get, so we hope that they give, you know, the perfect rule, you apply for 4, you get 4. So it'll be 77,000 times 4, so that's not good math. But 80,000 times 4, you know, is 320,000, and much better than that math.
yep,
So, take about 3,000, you're looking at $318,000.
Yes,
Plus the math.
I do recall in the back of my mind that the total request was almost $1 million.
The 7 grand total, 925,000. Now, is that the total cost times 4 for 3 years?
That's the total cost that the Fed would give us over the course of 3 years, would be $9 million,
Well, it starts at 19 to 49.
thank you. I haven't had a chance to.
So now the numbers I just read off are page.
Yep,
But when it says it's $925,000, is that for 1 year or four firefighters, or is that 3 years?
Take that divided by 3.
Okay, so it's 4 firefighters for 3.
For 3
for
years.
300,000.
All right. The fuzzy math.
So in the quick math you just did, it kind of adds up.
I'm not a mathematician, I am not. That's why I take my shoes and socks off.
Well, I think it's a good idea if we take this on and read to it.
Oh, absolutely.
See if we can get
First reading.
run over.
I know a couple of questions, a couple of questions I will have is, I want to read in here, based on what we were told, there's no obligation to hire at 3 years, 1 day. So part of this would be is, depending on how, right now, yep,
We have to start from the very beginning.
and I will. Chief, trust me, you will see my highlights through here with lots of questions coming
Could
through.
you decide to keep 2 then?
Correct. Well, or at minimum, depending on the commissioners at the time, may want to consider you are being, if this program went through and you were being hired for the term of the SAFER grant. After that, you can apply for the position, which they would have an in, or you can, for starting out firefighter, like I said, it's a getting in the door.
It wouldn't be like that. We would hire them, and they know that they don't have a job unless they're...
Right.
3
years, 1 day.
We would fire them. If you guys decided we weren't going to keep whoever, how many, whatever, they know that they didn't have a job come the third year after being like that.
3 year, 1 day.
Some question.
And everybody here is an employee at will, so I can terminate the whole department tomorrow if I wanted to.
Merit raises? Or is that included in that 925?
No, because they don't allow merit raises.
So if we
So if we gave a merit raise to the department, that would be on us. So like, usually like 2.5% raise
or a COLA.
or a COLA.
So that comes out of the taxation.
Right.
Yes.
That's why I want to read through it. That's why I do appreciate you getting the booklet,
It's not.
so we can start absorbing it before.
A lot of man hours goes into that.
Yes. I just don't want us stepping, the old SAFER grant that went out before, where you were then obligated to hire, so it was the camel getting into the tent. And that's why reading through this to make sure there is a way to kick the camel out of the tent.
Do you have a free-hole punch at the office?
I do,
Stop by one of these days.
that's fine.
I've got a free-hole punch.
Okay, we can discuss that next time. Everybody's ready.
Yep.
Okay, review the minutes of July 21st, 2020.
No, we're good.
Yes, they were. I gave you a-
They read them?
Yeah.
I did have questions.
Got a motion second.
Notice I didn't throw my question out. I'm learning. You're keeping me on track and I'm
Motion
learning.
to bring the minutes to the floor for discussion.
I'll second that. Comments. So I received an email from the public asking about the district report on the station committee. That was, and I thought we discussed it last month. I didn't see it in the minutes here anywhere. But I thought we discussed it because in the first part, I'm sorry, it would have been down in district meeting review under new business, where we brought the pre-meeting check. There was discussion ensued. Was under the discussion ensued or not? I could have sworn we brought up, since we weren't able to present it, we should put it out online and get the report out there.
We talked about that, but I don't remember.
Okay, and that's where I was.
I think it was a meeting here, it was after, it was post-district meeting.
Yes, yeah, and that's what this will do.
I do recall
So if that's the case, it still isn't online, and I got an email a couple days ago that I saw today on when I was waiting up here. So where do the commissioners stand on putting that report and the presentation on the district website?
Do I have that report? Information?
That was back in February. We submitted to the commissioners in February.
Where's that from?
It's on the shared drive.
It would be for our meeting.
Oh, I have final report, 2019
Yep.
fire station committee. Okay, that can go up tomorrow.
Okay. Just so I don't keep getting those emails, because right
Well, they
now,
should email us, and then that would,
I
you know.
they reach out to their commissioners too, because on our webpage it says 2016 Facilities Committee Report, 2014 Fire Station Report, and the 2019 that didn't get presented because of all the issues we're
Technical
having.
difficulties.
Yes, absolutely. I think we should get that up there since we
Oh, I
talked about it.
definitely think you should look at it. You know, the more it's out there,
It is up there? You say?
No, I said put it up there.
Well, that's why I brought it up last month, and then I got called out before this meeting. It's like, hey, it's still not up. So putting it up there.
All right.
so we shouldn't have to make a motion. I think just put it up
I
there.
thought we
I remember we talked about it.
yeah, I don't know if we made a motion.
I will put it up tomorrow.
Yeah. But, so the question that came up with how it related to the meetings, why I brought that up, is we had discussion ensued. Discussion ensued that a lot was discussed as part of district meeting review, and discussion ensued didn't really cover the details of it. So how much do we want discussion ensued? If it's key points of discussion ensued with key points, blah, 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 spelling out, so that something like that, just report would be reflected or mentioned or something like that. Because discussion ensued is very broad and vague.
You don't put word for word what we're saying. Right?
No, but you can discussion ensued with key points of,
Minutes, this,
but you can spell out with key points of
Well,
point or report, things like that, just as a trigger point.
I think you should put up there something, not word for word, but again, I got, so people understand what we're looking for. You're going after.
Because I immediately
And
went
what
to
the
this.
committee's come up with, I mean, you guys are on the committee, you know what to come up with, and then this is what we're going to present. This is what we're working on, I guess.
Right. It's just that when I received that email, the first thing I did was go to the minutes, because I'm like, oh yeah, we discussed it last month, and then, once again, there was no reference of the project anyway, because it was under discussion ensued. So I think discussion ensued in regards to stainless versus this, or facilities report, or even just as a trigger point. Yes, and we didn't just ignore you, Mr. Public, Mrs. Public. It was without making a 50-page minutes.
I definitely think it should be up there so people know what's going on.
I mean, they do have the audio to go to. I respect that. And
Yeah, that's always up there the next day because.
right.
I don't think we have, you can make a motion if you want, or I don't think,
I don't know the proper procedure for that to make sure
What
that
I
we
will,
do it.
I will bring it to Beth's attention that she needs to expand more.
Yeah.
Do you want these minutes of the 21st?
Then that's the reason why I'm kind of bringing it to the commissioners. I had noticed that. That was why I kind of wrote it down as the minutes. I mean, I'm comfortable with the minutes the way they are. I understand there's some discrepancies in it, but I think with a note of there going forward, or adjustment going forward, I think I would be fine with these minutes. Now that we've discussed that, that was a noted potential adjustment for future.
Well, that is good. I would think that's potential in the future, more information should be added in the discussion soon.
Just a little bit, yeah.
Okay, so we're all set there.
You gotta
Make a motion to accept.
email
Oh,
motion.
Motion to make a second.
Okay, it's been moved and second. All those in favor?
Uh,
I'm working. It kills me. I pay very well, but it kills me. Any other business?
Just the manifest, we review and sign.
I still owe this one, I'm behind.
Next meeting is September 1st, 2020. That'll probably be here again.
I'm hoping that it will be at Tilton Town Hall. I asked for it to be there tonight, but it was requested that we wait a month. They just got their machine in,
Yeah.
so they want to see how it works.
The policies and procedures, we
Yeah.
have a low volume sprayer, disinfecting sprayer, so after every meeting, someone from the highway department goes in and sprays everything the first thing when people get there.
What kind of chemicals are these putting?
Other than SDS sheet that you can get from, it's a disinfecting.
What's it gonna be?
What's in it?
I don't know,
What's
you
in
have
it?
to be SDS.
I don't even get ready to come back and say, yeah, we use this product to hit the people.
Yeah, you know, you got,
You
Can't
can ask for
see.
the MSDS and you can find out.
You can't see, it's just like disinfectant, hand sanitizer. What is it, 26 that you don't recognize? Is it 100?
well, you see where I work, you got a guy who's in, they got the stuff, you squirt it in, he comes in, dumps a whole bottle of isopropyl alcohol in there to make it stronger. He does that to our wipes too.
No.
I know.
We got a bigger guy who works at the warehouse. Every morning he comes in, uses a can of Lysol and a thing of wipes. He wipes down all the steel and all the pork cards,
Yeah.
all the handles.
There's a typo on it, for food,
Japone?
no, there's for food.
Sorry, I'm thinking of guys.
I don't know if it's supposed to. Those are the
What kind of a machine did you receive?
So, ultra low volume disinfecting sprayer. So if you look on, like you see how they do the subways and similar school systems, they have a whole demonstration. It took 6 weeks to get that. It's like,
Well, this one is just an ankle with plastic cover.
Wait, no, I'm not saying it's a bad thing. It's probably a safety thing. I just hope
I know that one of
these companies that make this stuff,
strap system
No,
is, the old one
you
is
start there.
to crisscross.
some of the stuff, I'm leery of it.
If something happens, it's going to be a leak and it's not destruction.
I was just surprised with plastic, but I've seen the leather with the pass-through metal,
Yeah.
spider straps, and those techniques, and that's what
Ultra low
plastic
volume.
was just used.
I just
And
want,
for the general public, the bathrooms are still closed.
Found out they were.
yeah.
And when you enter into town hall, we required to wear a mask. You can't see the side.
After a period of time, it's-
So I just wanted to get in there during the process of writing the policies and
Yeah, and they
procedures,
also have the SDS sheet, so I'm sure that will be.
since they received their ultra low volume.
Next to his device itself rather than. like-
Okay, I'll make a motion, we adjourn at 7. Thank you.
Second.
We move second, all those in favor?
Yes.
Yep.
This one goes back to you.
not gonna need